Hey, you're listening to Rising into Mindful Motherhood. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Wood. I'm a barefoot mama bear, pharmacist, integrative fertility health coach, and lover of all things nature and animals. I'm on a mission to have intentional conversations about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. My mindful guest and I will be talking about struggles, wins, natural wellness, and how we grow and transform as we enter motherhood. My background in healthcare has shown me how broken our medical system is. My own struggles to become pregnant has shown the lack of support for mamas to be, the lack of guidance for women to have a nourishing and vibrant pregnancy, the isolation, mom guilt, and all the things we hold after bringing baby earthside. I want this platform to be a place where women can feel connected, safe, and supported to share and hear their stories. A place to use our voice to discuss and advocate about what we need and deserve as mothers. So let's dive in, shall we? Hello and welcome into Rising. Hello and welcome to Rising into Mindful Motherhood. On today's solo episode, I'm really just going to be kind of touching on, well, one, whatever wants to come up and out, and two, something that I really just kind of gained more awareness around earlier this week. And I definitely think that it's a topic that most, if not every single woman on the planet can relate to. And that is the feeling that you need to be quote unquote on all of the time. Now, what do I mean by that? What does it mean to be on all of the time? That really means, at least to me, this is my definition, that you are constantly going, um, checking off your to-do list, doing things for others, whether it's for your job, your family, your husband, your children, maybe even your siblings, your in-laws, your parents, your friends. Pretty much you're doing all of the things except the things that fill your cup up, things that rejuvenate you, replenish your energy, saying yes to a lot of things when you really kind of want to say no, or you definitely want to say no, but you're just not really good at kind of setting those boundaries and listening to your body and things like that. So that's what I mean when, as women, we're just constantly on. Like, we don't allow ourselves to rest, to take a moment to ourselves. Like, we pretty much have to come down with the flu or something like that before we actually allow ourselves to rest and to allow space to kind of be slower in our day-to-day lives. So earlier this week, I was supposed to be interviewed on another podcast. This is another fertility podcast, so one that I definitely, am excited and looking forward to being on, just sharing my wisdom, my experience, connecting with a wider audience. Um, and last week, my daughter was not feeling well. She kind of had a cough, sore throat. And then on the day that I was supposed to be doing the podcast, I started feeling like it was the slightest hint of, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to start getting sick too. I could almost feel it just like hovering in my chest, but not quite there yet, like a little bit in my head, like a little bit of that congestion. And I really debated, like, oh, should I cancel? Should I not? I mean, the podcast was at 1 in the afternoon, and I was starting to feel like this at like 9:30 in the morning. And of course, I like to be respectful. And if I am going to cancel, I want to give the person as much time as possible so they can maybe do something else with that scheduled time in their day. So it's like, oh, should I email him and cancel or to reschedule, not full blown cancel, or should I just push through? and do it. And actually, that reminds me of the other piece is, we are cyclical beings with our menstruation cycle, and we are taught from a very young age that we have to tune out any pain or symptoms we might be having and push through, still go to school, still go to work, still go to class, right? Even if you have cramps or a headache or you're exhausted because you're losing iron because you're bleeding for 5 days, right? We are not, our society does not allow us that sacred space and time. So that's how we grow up, right? We just kind of ignore it, shove it down, repress, repress. Oh, I have terrible cramps. That sucks. I'm just going to have to medicate myself today so I can make it through the day. I have a headache. I have a migraine. Well, just going to have to take this medication so I can even show up and keep pushing through, even though my body is like, has flashing signs like, slow down, stop, stop. So whether it's our period, whether it's an illness coming on, it's because, well, not our periods, but an illness comes on because we're running ourselves into the ground. We're not taking care of ourselves. Our immune system isn't at its full potential capacity. So going back to my original story is, I was battling inside my head. Do I do it? Do I not? Oh, past programming coming up, like, oh, well, that's rude to have to reschedule on the same day. And I could really just push through and show up. But then, all this inner healing and work that I've done with myself, and what do I teach my clients, right? To listen to your body. And believe me, I practice what I preach. It's not always easy, especially, this is the example I'm giving. It's not always easy. But then sometimes, your awareness kicks in and then you're reminded like, oh, all right, maybe I'm having these little signs and symptoms, and that's my body's way of giving me like early signals like, hey, Katie, slow down, take a rest for the day. It'll be okay. Like, that's another thing is anchoring safety back into the body. Like, it'll be okay, Katie. You'll reschedule the podcast. And if this person who was doing the interview isn't willing to reschedule because you're not feeling well, then is that even a podcast that you want to be on, right? Of course he was. He was so understanding and flexible. But if he wasn't, then honestly, the interview wasn't in alignment anyways. So I did end up rescheduling. I sent it early in the morning just to give him time. And I just said, I'm so sorry, but I also want to be able to, on top of being able to honor my body, I want to be able to show up as my best version on your podcast for you and for your audience. And he was actually really appreciative of that. He was like, yes, like I want you to be on your top game, right? For the content that I'm going to be providing to his audience. So that might be food for thought, depending on anything that might be coming up in your life where you feel like you have to push through maybe whatever it is by saying like, hey, like I'm not feeling great. Can we reschedule? Maybe on the other side or the other person or whatever it may be, maybe they'll be really appreciative of that. Like, yeah, totally. I would rather have you, showing up as your best self too. I was listening to like a 5-day boot camp about Pinterest, and the other co-host was sick. I think she had the flu, and she was like, but I'm here. I showed up, gotta do it. And she said, like, not only did she not sound well, but she sounded miserable. I'm sure not herself at all, which obviously that's not her fault. She's sick, but um, it was almost like she was bringing the energy down. Like the other co-host was like super energetic and lively, and then she was just like doing her best to even create words, to even speak. So it's like, oh man, should she have just, I mean, I know you have these commitments, but maybe she should have just given herself another day to kind of take some time for herself. But either way, I digress. A reason why I wanted to share this from my heart is I think today's episode of Rising into Mindful Motherhood is proudly sponsored by the Confident Conception membership. Are you or someone you know on what feels like a never-ending journey to motherhood, facing an uphill battle of fertility challenges? I'm Dr. Katie, your podcast host, pharmacist, and integrative fertility coach with over a decade of experience. I've been where you are, and I understand the roller coaster of emotions and heartache. That's why I've created the Confident Conception membership, a program designed to help you address the real reasons behind fertility challenges. Like my client Elizabeth, who struggled with fertility for 9 years, having tried and failed other programs. She was in disbelief when just a couple of months into using my Confident Conception method, she finally got her first positive pregnancy test and welcomed her healthy baby boy this year. Using the Confident Conception method, we combine traditional medicine and energy healing to unlock your innate and abundant fertility potential. This isn't just about putting a Band-Aid on to cover up the physical symptom. It's about healing the energetic and physical root causes. As a member, you'll receive personalized guidance, bi-weekly live coaching calls, and become a part of a supportive community of like-minded women who truly understand what you're going through. We offer flexible payment options, plus our annual members receive exclusive savings and bonuses to accelerate their path to pregnancy. Don't let another month of frustration and overwhelm pass you by. As a special offer to our listeners, you can use the promo code PODCAST10 to receive 10% off the lifetime of your membership. Secure your spot now and expedite your journey to motherhood today by visiting www.yourempoweredfertility.com/membership to learn more and enroll. Together, we'll pave the way to your confident conception for a future filled with joy, unconditional love, and the pitter-patter of tiny feet. The link is in the show notes. Sign up today and your future self will thank you. That this is so common, whether you're on your fertility journey, whether you're pregnant, whether you're postpartum, newly postpartum with a newborn, or maybe your kids are toddlers or much older than that. I see women inside of my world, family, friends, clients, who do not listen to their bodies. They don't allow themselves the time or space to slow down, rest, relax. And what happens? They get sick. They get sick, or they're just completely burnt out, maybe even resentful because you're giving 110% to everybody else and you have nothing left to give yourself. So really kind of looking at this from a fertility lens, if any of this is really resonating with you and you're like, oh my gosh, that's totally me, think about it, right? If you're not leaving any juice left to give yourself, how do you expect to create life from nothing, right? No energy, no essence, no vitality, nothing, because you are driving yourself into the ground, whether it's for your job, or other commitments you've picked up along the way, your partner, other family members. I've had women who were on their TTC journey and they were having to take care of a sick parent or even a parent who was in hospice. That drains and takes so much of your vital life force, which is absolutely necessary for creating life. Like, you can't create life if you yourself have nothing left to give. So if any of this is really ringing a bell for you, I have a few kind of thoughts I'd like to share on how you can kind of dig yourself out of this hole that you've dug yourself into. And believe me, I was in a very big hole back in the day. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was one reason why I struggled to get pregnant. I mean, I was still working retail, 12-hour shifts, and I just remember, I had a 45-minute commute to work, so an hour and a half in the car, 12-hour shifts. You do the math, that's like 13 to 14-hour day. And I just remember, whether it was I was in a fight with my partner or just upset about anything really, but still kind of keeping it in the fertility lens. Like, if I was upset about something having to do with, struggling to get pregnant, I vividly remember many times being in the car, driving to work, my eyes just welling up with tears and just telling myself, nope. New way, don't have time to do that, Katie. We have to get to work. We have to fill prescriptions. We have to consult patients. I'm not going to show up to work looking like I've been crying. And then people are going to start asking questions, and then I'm going to cry some more. I don't have time to do that, right? Repressing those emotions. And then the little time that I did have to myself at home, I wasn't allowing myself to rest or to feel any feelings. Nope, just kept pushing them down. So every once in a while, I'm reminded, like, oh, right, right. I can and should take this time to myself. And it's okay. And I'm going to be safe. It's all going to be okay. It's not going to be the end of the world if I'm not on this podcast, you know? And even back in the day when I was still doing retail, like, maybe if I allowed more alone time where I could turn inward and really kind of navigate and sift through whatever feelings I had, I wouldn't be welling up with tears on the way to work because I would have really kind of already touched upon those in the comfort of my own home if I had allowed myself that space. So just kind of looking at maybe what's currently going on in your life. How are you when things like that come up, when you're not feeling your best? If maybe you started a new cycle and you're just absolutely miserable because that was another cycle you didn't conceive, do you allow yourself to kind of turn inward and rest and reflect? Maybe journal, anything like that? Or are you the type of person that has FOMO? Believe me, I used to have huge FOMO and I still do sometimes. And you say yes to every plan that's presented in front of you. And you don't allow any time or space in your calendar, which is probably one way your subconscious mind is trying to keep you safe because, oh my gosh, if you have a moment to yourself, what are you going to do if you're not keeping busy? It's going to be quiet. You're going to end up getting in your head and thinking about all the things that you don't want to think about. But as uncomfortable and hard as it can be to do that sometimes, it's creating more space in your life for love, for light, for abundance, for your baby to come in. So just thinking about what areas of your life where maybe you're really kind of like, I need to take a step back. And just think about it. Everyone is different. Everyone has different things that are going on. But thinking about, I constantly have plans. If I'm not at work, I'm out doing something with friends or family, and I don't have time to myself. So maybe what you need to do is pick even just one day a week where it's like, nope, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stay home, relax, rest, read, journal, meditate, whatever take a bath, right? Whatever feels good to you, but kind of being with yourself and allowing you to have grace and compassion for yourself, especially if you're not feeling good as we're entering, the sick season pretty much. If you feel something coming on, that's your body telling you like, hey, you got to slow down a little bit. But when you don't slow down, that's when it just turns into something full blown. So today's Wednesday, it was Monday, just 2 days ago that I was rescheduling. And I allowed myself to rest, and I've felt good for the rest of the week. I mean, I still am a little stuffy, but it hasn't turned into like a full-blown thing where I'm like stuck in bed because I literally my body's giving me no choice at that point. Right? I chose to do it instead of my body being like, nope, you're just going to be in bed because you feel that shitty. So I hope that this helps even just one of you realize where you could create more space and time for yourself, where maybe you need to give yourself a little bit more grace and passion, whatever feels good to you. And just knowing that it'll be okay and that you're safe. And sometimes you have to coach yourself through it and kind of remind yourself like, hey, I'm safe. It is okay to do this. It is okay to say no and not feel like a terrible person. Like, hey, I would really love to do this with you, but honestly, like I'm tired. I need to rest. I need to stay home. So listening to your body, listening to those early warning signals. When you do that, you're going to be amazed at how much better you feel. I promise. So thanks so much for listening. If you had any big aha moments from this podcast, please let me know. You can reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook. The links are in the show notes. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rising into Mindful Motherhood podcast. If this episode resonated with you or gave you an aha moment, stop what you're doing right now and write a review. This simple act of kindness helps me get this podcast out to connect with as many women as I possibly can. I also have a special offer. If you send me a screenshot of your review, I will take $250 off one of my premium coaching containers. Let me know what resonated with you the most and why. So connect with me in my free Facebook community or tag me on Instagram. You'll find both listed below. Thanks again from the bottom of my heart for tuning in to this episode, and I'll see you next time.